All right, what's going on, niggas? Party people. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. I was just sitting here chilling, well, actually laying down here, laying down, thinking whether if I should talk about sinners or not. Because I know for me, man, I don't like to talk about the shit that every motherfucker's talking about. But what I will do, I will give you a whole different perspective on it, though. That I will definitely do for you. So, if this is your first time, welcome. I go by the name of Leslie. I am a spiritual healer. And essentially, as a spiritual healer, what I do is that I help people to become Christ like, Buddha like, Krishna like, and the whole idea of saying that or being any of these, thing or statements pretty much is for you to attain your highest level of consciousness, to have, to become fully developed as a human being. That's what the Christ does to you. That's why it's holistic. And pretty much the way I go about doing that, right before I get into the movie, I want to give you a baseline of understanding of who I am, and ultimately it would help you to understand my perspective from the movie too. So yeah, so that's what I do. And the way I go about doing that, obviously, for you to see the big picture or the broader perspective, you cannot be one sided. So, therefore, I help you to become mentally and emotionally balanced. And there was a scene in the movie where I'll get into that too, so you understand, like, it all makes sense, right? It's important. And the reason being is, if you being one sided, let's just say, we all know what happens when someone is not emotionally matured, right? They don't see things as they should. And the same thing happens when you also, let's just say, too mental. Because some people, for the most part, would realize that, and that's why a lot of people would tell you, man, emotions are weak, because you tend to do things that you didn't mean or you didn't see things fully. So, as a way to fill up that void, they feel like they have to suppress it. Now, if you see the movie Sinners, there was a part where Smoke, which was, and I'll tell you, oh man, I'm getting ahead of myself too, but I want to make this point when it comes to being mentally balanced and why it's important for you to be both mentally and emotionally balanced for you to have a broader perspective. There was a part where, when, at the juke, whatever, like the bar, you know what I'm saying, shit was popping. And then Smoke saw somebody who paid but didn't use a lot of cash or was missing a couple cash or some money. Then he brought his brother, Stack, and the other lady, I don't recall her name. And then he goes like, what's going on here, man? Like, are you guys giving out shit? You know what I'm saying? But then they had to kick some sense into him. They're trying to tell him that, yo, this is not Chicago. These people are different here. So when you become too intellect, you don't see the full picture neither, because you need your emotions to expand your consciousness. And that's what they were able to do when you saw that scene. I mean, I'm assuming that you've seen the movie. So that's what that scene represented. In other words, they were trying to tell them, hey, those people are different. They don't make the same kind of money that Chicago niggas are making. They work all day from, I can't recall, from the actual plantation. However the fuck they actually broke it down. But if you see the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So that was another way of balancing. And that gave them a broader perspective. So you understand. So I was saying that to say, I guess I jumped a little bit ahead of myself. But, when you not mentally balanced, or you don't use, or you choose to suppress your emotions, you only going by your intellect. By the way, like I always tell you guys, that is the recipe for toxicity. That's what toxic people do. But most importantly, you become very rigid. Like at this point, this motherfucker didn't give a fuck. Business is business. Do you see what I'm saying? But now your business is not gonna work because you need these people as part of your business. I mean, I understand you don't want to give shit away, but these people, you know what I'm saying, they have to walk a few miles away. and they're not making that much money. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, take your business back to Chicago then, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Type shit. But anyway, they were able to kick some sense out of him. But I was saying that to say, you know, for you to see the full picture, you have to become mentally and emotionally balanced. Now, when we're talking about being mentally balanced, right? It's just that, you know, you have to understand pretty much your culture. You have to understand everything. Like, not everything, but in terms of, you know, the things that, you know, you got to understand how your mind is being conditioned. Otherwise, you don't have a freedom mind, you would have a conditioning mind. So therefore, you can't think freely because you're already thinking how they want you to think. You become a fucking machine. You just, at that point, you were shaped to think a certain way. And that's what you see with people who go to school, you know, and that's what you see in our society, period. Because they're not training you to be you, they train you to be a fucking image. But anyway, and when I'm talking about being emotionally balanced, well, it's the same baseline understanding here as well. Because what we're truly talking about being emotionally balanced is you understanding your emotions and understand the message that your emotions are revealing to you. That's why being triggered is good, because there's a message in it for you. You need to understand. Now, the wise one, we would understand now we need to go within for you to track what is it or why are you being triggered. And I'll give you guys a perfect example about how, you know, to be emotionally balanced. And I think I talked about this in the past. I remember, like, okay, I'm just going to make a long story short, right? So I gave my daughter a bath. And of course, after taking a bath, she's jumping around. It took a minute for her to get dressed. Then when she finally got dressed, there was two pants that I had chosen, right? But me, you know, I mean, I chose both of them. I mean, giving her the option to choose one of them. And then I'm, you know, at one point I'm like, okay, daddy's no longer playing, get dressed, I'm outside. Okay, so she got dressed when she came out. Keep in mind, she's 3 years old, bro. When she came out, it was the short that she got on. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, then I went and got the other one. Then I realized the other one was a lot longer. And I told her, don't you want to wear this? She was like, no, Dad, I love this one. This is the one I love. So for me at that moment, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was like, yo, is my daughter a hoe? Oh, shit. Is my daughter a hoe? Like, think about that, man. A 3-year-old kid, bro. But I'm saying that to tell you, you know, that's when, for me, I realized, oh, I'm insecure. That was my insecurity. Do you see what I'm saying? Because, I mean, what the fuck that has to do with a kid that's 3 years old, bro? I know some of you motherfuckers might be like, hey, man, that's how they start. No, motherfucker, that's not how they start. And even if she becomes a hoe, too, who gives a fuck? Somebody's got to be a hoe. You know, it has nothing to do, and I hear a lot of guys be saying, like, you know, if your daughter's a hoe, like, you fell as a father. I don't know. I see things differently, man. You know, what about her? Why is it that everything that I got to give her, she has to take? Does she has any personality herself? Do you see what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that to say I wouldn't guide her. I'm not shaping her, not at all. In fact, I know how to talk to her. Being a spiritual healer, trust me, I know how to bypass all that shit and talk directly to her subconscious mind. But I'm saying that to say, for me, when we're talking about being emotionally balanced, you had to discover what triggers you and have a deeper understanding of what that is. So the fact that when I acknowledge, oh no, man, that was my insecurity. How can I put this on a fucking kid, bro? You know what I'm saying? How? But it's not just that too. female in general, that's part of what they do. Now if you understand, like Victoria's Secret, she gets the secret. She understands it. Because women, that's part of their self-expression. Ever since she was 2, she would be taking pictures and twisting her fucking toe and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would think she's a fucking adult, but those are things that women do. That's part of they radiate. They radiate, which is part of their being, which is, when they look pretty. You know what I'm saying? Not, what I'm saying? Some of them could be, I get it. You know what I'm saying? If they're looking for certain attention, I got it. But that's also part of their personality too. Not necessarily, they're not doing it necessarily for any other motherfuckers. That's their self-expression. So a lot of us, due to our insecurities, we react a certain way. And that was mine. So I had to deal with that. Like, it's pretty much doing your shadow work too, which has absolutely nothing. Now, going back to Victoria's Secret, now what the whole idea now is that, you know what? You want to look sexy, you want to have your lingeries, hide it. That's what the secret is. They still allow women, that's why a lot of women goes there. They still allow you to be you, but because you're living in such a fucking toxic masculinity fucking world, you know what I'm saying, hide it. There's no way, and I hear motherfuckers too be saying, like, you should be dressed a certain way just so you don't get raped or anything. Come on, bro. Like, how can anybody make you do anything, man? You gotta have self-control, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck. A bitch could be walking around like, I'm not gonna date you naked all you want. I may even be attracted, but it's not gonna go any further than that. But anyway, I'm saying all of that to say, when I'm talking about being emotionally balanced, that's what I'm talking about. It's for you to understand your emotional responses. And that requires for you to be in tune with your emotions. So now at this point, when I had that thought, I was able to change it. I'm like, come on, man, nigga. I was laughing at myself too. I'm like, you see, that's your insecurity right there. And then I've done the work. You know what I'm saying? And that work entails, man, she's going to have to be her. And of course, like I said, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be around. And if she turns out to be a hoe, so what? I mean, it's somebody's daughter, it's somebody's son, that became a hoe. Even though that's not going to happen in mine, and I know it's not going to happen because I'm open to it. Not open to her being that, but it could. Anyway, it's not going to happen. But I'm saying that to say, because I already see her state of mind, that's just not going to happen. But the bottom line here is that I was talking about my insecurities. So therefore, a lot of people sometimes, when we're being triggered, you don't know why you're being triggered. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may blame it on something else, but you're not doing you're not going deeper for you to realize what the fuck and why the fuck are you acting or reacting a certain way. That's what I meant. So, but anyway, so that's what it means to become, to be, what was I talking about? Mentally and emotionally balanced, right? So, obviously, spiritual. Now, we're here to talk about the movie Sinners, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to give you a whole different perspective on it. The movie Sinners is what I would call a modern day Matrix. The only difference is you have a Matrix that is being told from an African perspective. Because it's the same storyline. Neo, you have Sammy. Sammy represented the Christ consciousness, who stood up for himself, and then now who's getting ready to get on his journey. And then now you have the cousins, Stack and Smoke, who represent a part of Sammy. These are all one person. And for you to attain your highest, again, going back to being mentally and emotionally balanced, Stack represents your physical body, or the actual emotions. And Smoke, which was the heir, the smoker, he was about that. And you can see when he wants to smoke, he always tells Stack what to do because he's in control. So making a long, I mean, it's the same storyline. Stock and fucking, is a representation of Sammy. And then let me see what else. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but I'm not gonna break down the whole fucking movie. I'm just gonna give you some of the key things that you need to understand, all right? But also, here's something else, and that's why I think for me, it's two things. This movie was channeled. This motherfucker, it was channeling in that movie. I know, I just know. But anyway, the brilliant thing that he does, which was pretty much the same thing that the Matrix also does, except the Matrix was a lot louder, in terms of the new technology and the fight that was implemented into that movie. So Ryan Coogler, or Gogler, whatever the fuck his name is, he's a genius too. Definitely a fucking occultist. Because that's what this movie was about. So whenever you see the collective consciousness is talking about a movie, that's because the good thing about that too, he was able, I mean, he brings it out of you. In other words, you'll see a lot of people who talk about the movie, they talk about the things that they already know that they saw in the movie. Not the full picture. So in other words, he had a little bit of something for everybody in that movie. And that's what makes it a great movie in terms of the dance and in terms of everything. So he's like the modern day Matrix, but that storyline is being told from an African perspective. What was the other thing that I wanted to talk? I mean, so when we talk about the collective consciousness, in other words, I think that's the only bad part that I would say about the movie. He didn't really give you, again, like, it's nothing that you discovered. I mean, the genius part of it, everybody was able to get something. He brought it out of you. It's a conversation. I've seen a lot of fucking sinners review, and all those reviews, of course, they're going to be based on, whoever's saying it, and based on how much they know about spirituality too, or how much they were able to decode a few things. So it's almost like think about it this way. When Steve Harvey had the book Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady, the reason why this book became a national seller, and after that book, that's when Steve Harvey blew up, was because he was already saying things that a lot of women was already saying. But he put it in words now that caught your attention. That's what the Matrix did, and that's what the fuck Sinners also did. Like when we talk about The Secret, right? The Secret was another one. They name it The Secret, but then yet again at the same time they telling you this shit been around for 2 million years, whatever the fuck. It's like, what the fuck? So how this shit is fucking secret, nigga? And then now when you're learning about it, and then that's why a lot of people was like, yo, that shit is true, man. That shit happened to me. That shit happened to me. That shit happened to me. So it wasn't nothing new that he gave you, but maybe it helps you to become a little more conscious of it. And of course, I listen to different reviews too. Niggas talking about hoodoo. This is not voodoo. Bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I heard one nigga talk about, before you watch this movie, I want you to understand the difference between hoodoo and voodoo. in that movie it was hoodoo, it wasn't voodoo. I'm like, nigga, what? And then he went on to describe voodoo as the demonic side of hoodoo. In other words, this nigga just telling you the same shit that Hollywood is telling you. And that's how I know this nigga don't know nothing about voodoo. Again, niggas that are kicking knowledge but have no fucking wisdom. You know, if I were to add, voodoo, Santeria, it's all the same shit as voodoo, bro. Hoodoo is also voodoo too. In fact, if you understand the word voodoo, voo means introspection. And now the do part is into yourself, what we call the mistake. So when I hear some motherfuckers saying some dumb shit, you're saying it because of what Hollywood show you on the big screen, or you're looking at those ritual aspect of it. You know, like chicken heads that are being, you know what I'm saying, beheaded and shit. So now I know that's what you're looking at. But not because you have no fucking knowledge truly of what the fuck voodoo is. But anyway, but then again, like I said, you know, I've seen the good thing about this movie is that it gets people to talk. You know, it gets that conversation going in terms of people, you know, being a little more active, responsive to the movie and shit like that. So that's pretty good. But just like I said too, unfortunately, you know, in so many words, it's shit that you kind of like already know. I mean, it's nothing in that movie, to be honest, that you're gonna be like, yo, I learned some incredible shit. Or I've seen something that I didn't see before. And then it's not, you didn't have no aha moment. But the experience was different. That's what I'm telling you. It's just the Matrix from an African perspective. And that's what I personally like about it. So now when you see Stock now, not Stock, even Stock, before Smoke went to the town, he told Sammy, hey, look out after him, man. He can never do anything by himself. Because Sammy was the consciousness, now referring to Stock, you know, the body or the emotions. You know, the emotions, you always got to balance it out. Because by himself, he's going to get in trouble. This is a highly metaphysical movie. It's an occult movie. Again, it's talking about the Christ consciousness. Essentially. So then, oh man, like there's so much shit to talk about. I'm just gonna give you guys a summary, man. There's a lot of shit to talk about. And even me starting talking about this, then now I'm thinking about, I gotta mention this, I gotta mention that. But anyway, making a long story short, or maybe I should talk about a couple, you know, even the fight. I mean, there was a bunch of good point that was talked about in that movie. Now let's talk about Sammy when he saw, his song, incredible. Yo, that shit was channeled, bro. I watched it, I know what I saw. But then again, you could tell when the poof with the spaces, he was trying to get you to see his consciousness, the universe, through music, but most importantly, what he represented. So he did a very good job at, like, man, he nourished you. No wonder why a lot of people are responding to it, but it's not necessarily responding because you have this aha moment or that deep thing that, nah. And yeah, I'm not saying the movie's bad because of that. I mean, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you from my perspective. You know, and even the whole scene, if we're going back to show you when I was telling you guys, you know, helping you to become mentally and emotionally balanced, if you remember the scene now when, you know, that's what Stock was doing. Stock always balanced Smoke out. So they balance each other out. So the Gemini, they represented two sides of the same coin. That's why for you to have a broader perspective, you need to embrace both your masculinity and your femininity, or you need to embrace your physical, your emotions, and the intellect. The minute you choose one over the other, that's exactly what you become. One-sided. And your perspective is going to be one-sided. If you understand what I'm saying. And of course, you could see the connection now. The whole vampire shit, I'm not going to waste too much time on that. You know what that means. The energy vampires. But let me tell you the great conversation that I really like. And this is, So, when the guy was saying, I'm here for Sammy, I heard the music from afar. And remember, these guys were called the external. The people in the church was the people inside, the insiders. This is also showing you, when you go by the external, and this is what I always tell you guys. You're keeping up with the Joneses, it's debauchery, it's all that shit. In other words, it's what we called the fruit of the flesh. But here's the other thing. And of course, he used the white people. You already know what white people do. In terms of, what I'm saying? These niggas, what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And this is not to say all white people are that way, but I understand the energy part of it. Even in, they use you. You know what I'm saying? They abuse you. That's why, they had the whole, they suck the life out of you. But now, it's pretty clear why they could use the white people as a fucking vampire. But the part that I also like was, they infected, that's why you see in our society, the bougie niggas, like I don't fuck with little niggas, and, that whole boule shit. All of that is a reflection of, Bill Cosby telling you what he was telling you, not, pull your pants up and all that shit. And then this is, you got to act a certain way, to be part of that society. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. I'm just letting you know that's what it was. So then you have these type of niggas. And... But anyway, the conversation that I like, this is the part that I really want to get to know. And, at the same time, as I'm thinking about it now, even though I did like it, and I still like it, it's almost like, it's obvious. Because vampires, what the fuck do? They seek for light. The energy vampires, they get other people's energy. And then they turn you into them. And then they seek for other people's energy. Now, the difference was the people from the external and the people from within, the people that was inside, they don't look to get other people's energy because they go within. But the conversation that I like, it was when that guy, whatever, like the Irish vampire, was saying, hey, we all need the light, man. I like that. So it's almost like, yeah, they need the light too. But the issue with them, though, they don't look for the light within. They look for the light from somebody else. So that was cool. I really like that. I think it was a great conversation. In terms of, I think that was a great conversation in terms of, showing you the differences between the people who was the insiders and the external. Because that was also reflecting, your society. And then, of course, with the white people, listen, you could talk about history about this movie. You could talk about so many different things. He put the pieces together, but ultimately, it was a fucking occultist movie. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Because ultimately what he was really talking about was the Christ consciousness, which was Sammy. And of course, We talked about, no, I forgot to mention this part. And again, I'm just going to give you some of the main keys. Like, even after Stock got bit, right? You know, Smoke was fucking crying. But you realize when they fought, they did not kill each other. It got to a point where Smoke was about to kill him. They look eye to eye. That's when they become one. And then the next thing you know, now Smoke, which is air, you know, that's why too, this movie is showing you also, you have to devote, you got to be devoted to your consciousness. That's why now you see him, he was the one to save Sammy. But then you didn't see, Stock was not killed, but you didn't see him again. And that scene was left on like that on purpose to show you that they were one and the same, pretty much. But now let's talk about too Smoke Girl too, man. That's another one. Because your spirituality, this is where now, you know, I see those stupid motherfuckers who's talking about hoodoo. No, it's mine, it's mine. Thank you. So now that's when you get to see the stupid motherfuckers now who was talking about hoodoo, voodoo, and all that shit. What this shit was saying, was showing to you, is that your intellect, again, they all represent a part of Sammy. That's when now you need to get that esoteric knowledge. You need to have that. And even Smoke too, that was the type of girl that he went for. A bitch with integrity. Well, that's what the whole spirituality, that's what it does to you. And then he represented by a female too, to show you the knowledge, the mystery. Call it voodoo, call it hoodoo, Santeria, all the same shit. But of course, with this movie being an African-American movie, I don't see why, hoodoo fits it. Because it's mainly a state shit where, you know, in the South, niggas talk about hoodoo and shit. But us Haitian niggas, man, it's straight up voodoo, nigga. And African niggas, they call it voodoo. It goes by different names. It's not because the ritual make it demonic. You stupid motherfucker. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. And this is a nigga who's supposedly to be that nigga. Hey, I don't know to whom though. But anyway, you know, your black consciousness niggas. Your black conscious niggas. You got to get out of that box, man. You have to get out of that box for you to have a broader perspective. You got to get out of that box. But anyway, to each his own, whatever. But it's not just that. You would think if a nigga would say voodoo is demonic, I would expect you to know what the fuck you're talking about too. A lot of these niggas, they don't even know the meaning of voodoo. And now you're gonna tell me what voodoo is? Fuck out of here, man. But anyway, voodoo ain't no different than fucking Hinduism, Buddhism. Yes, motherfucker, Buddhism. Because what I see a lot of people are trying to do to Buddhism nowadays, they're trying to turn it into a philosophy shit. That is not fucking true, man. There's a bunch of mystery in Buddhism. If you connected, you connected. If you know, you know. Because I talked to, man, to some of their deities. The Mutra and all that shit. No, they use logic. The thing about, that's what voodoo does too. You know, they tell you it's not something new. It's what you already going through, but now you need to have a deeper understanding of it. That's why in voodoo we'll tell you, you energy, nigga. That's why I call myself l'esprit. You energy. In other words, the Kabbalion would tell you, you spirit. Spirit, energy, tomatoes. You know, it's learning how to live in harmony with yourself. just like mind, body, and soul. But then again, you don't know that part of voodoo. You only looking at this ceremonial shit. You look, and then now that's what you call voodoo. I got it, Hollywood nigga. And then you kicking knowledge. Them Hollywood niggas. But anyway, going back to the movie, man. What the fuck? Yeah, so I was talking about that. So that's when now you need to have all of those elements for you to fully become Sammy. So in so many words, I mean, the movie was great. Ooh, let me talk about this other part too. Now, when Sammy ate that girl out, that's a very important part. A lot of people, you might get lost, but that shit was done on purpose. Because there was a big thing that was being represented here. When Sammy did his thing first, you could see how it was the ecstasy. And that shit was dope too, man. And here's something else. Oh, that shit was fucking dope. The musical genius behind this shit, I knew this nigga was channeling. He understood. What he was showing you pretty much, and that's what I always tell niggas. I don't give a fuck. Listen, if you listen to compa, you listen to soca, you listen to reggae, you listen to R&B, you listen to blues, you listen to roots, you know those are nigga shit. Just like when you listen to hip hop from up north, and then you listen to the South music. So he was able to put all that shit together, although he didn't have compa or soca, but the idea was there. He was showing you the connection in us too. And here's something else, that I really like that these niggas do. I mean, Eddie Murphy is known for that shit. You'll see like in Eddie Murphy's movie, he would have all type of different black from different nationalities. You would have a French nigga, you would have this, you would have that. And ironically, that movie was also showing you too, even back then in the South, you know what I'm saying? Like even if you see the movie, Will Smith, when he was getting his ass whooped, that was a true story. That nigga was a Haitian nigga that came to the state. He didn't know how to speak English. I mean, semi this and that. And then they also use Creole too. But anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm saying this to say, he was able to infuse all of that in there. That was magical. That was dope. What he was doing here, it was giving you the niggas experience. And as a nigga like me, that's when, like my playlist, I got Black Coffee, I got all type of niggas. From the Commodores, from fucking, what's that guy, from Prince, Michael Jackson, from Bob Marley. And of course you already know, Compa's already there. And the Roots too. I'm talking about like those marching band in Haiti, nigga. You probably don't even know about what I just said or that type of music. It's like you could see the whole connection. You see the spirit in it. And this nigga was able to display that shit. And that was incredible. So I gotta give him that. So, you know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not taking any credits. I'm just telling you the storyline was kind of like the same to me. And I'm like, okay. I know what this is. That was another Inception. That was another Matrix. But it was being said in a different perspective, from a nigga's perspective. So now all you niggas could go like, you have your own Matrix now. Ooh, all of you Black Power niggas, you know what I'm saying? Now you got your own Matrix. But it's not even a but. Man, it was incredible. It was good. It was good. But then again, I just want you to be aware of what you're calling good though. How good it was. Because I understand collective consciousness. Whenever you see, like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like the second Matrix, people always say, it's nothing. I know why you said, it's not as powerful as the first one. Because you don't understand it. The first Matrix was appealing to a lot of people. The storyline, the dreams, the Matrix, what they doing to you. And then, of course, it wasn't anything that you didn't know. But you had a channel that was supporting everything that you just said, and you just jumped. Everybody, yes, the Matrix. Same shit with this movie here. Besides, I'm already telling you, this nigga's saying hoodoo, voodoo. That movie was hoodoo, not voodoo. You see what I'm saying? But then again, overall, man, great movie. Just wanted to spend it, a little more. Oh yes, let me talk about when he ate that bitch out, because that was a very significant. Because if you realize, when she started singing, and she was French too. I mean, I'm not sure if she was French or not, but anyway, when she started singing, the mood was different. It wasn't as Sammy was when he was singing. And I think that's when the vampires too always came in too. I don't recall. But anyway, the bottom line was this. What that was showing you is technically what the Bible is now. When consciousness is being seen from a physical perspective, because he did that scene on purpose, eating her out, that shit was not necessarily gross, but it was a sexual act. Not gross, but it was a sexual shit. It was dick and pussy. And then you see what come along with her when she started singing and how the people responded to that. It wasn't the same as when Sammy was singing and then you went up to the sky and that's the illumination, the stars. It wasn't that. Now at that point, when that bitch was singing, you already know what's up, nigga. So consciousness without smoke, so to speak, without, being connected to a higher self, means nothing. That's what you see with your regular people who goes to church. Church is just a social thing to go to. It's a political bullshit. Just like you have your fucking events, going to church now is a fucking event. You have a group of people now who's claiming they're doing God's work. They speaking from the Bible. They also helping other people out too. I'm not bad-mouthing nothing. But there's no direct experience. And that's why you're always going to see is people talking about other people's behind their back. It's going to be all that shit. Because that's what you see when you're using the Bible and there's no you're not activated. Let me see what else. And then obviously the external, internal, they represent, you see what happens with the external people. That term was said on purpose, showing you how the energy vampires do things. We both seeking for the light, but the difference is with us, we go with the light within. Now they looking for your light. And then what else? I don't think there was any major thing that needed to be talked about. And then obviously, the connection with Smoke and Sammy kind of go hand in hand now. I mean, if you get everything I just said. And that's it, man. We're just going to leave it there. But overall, great movie. Again, you got something you could call a matrix from an African perspective. And then not to mention the blues too. There was so many other conversation that was dope that I can't recall. I should have taken notes, but then again, this was I mean, it wasn't something I planned. I was debating whether I should talk about it. But if I felt like maybe, hey, let me know. But there's a bunch of other shit that was talked about too, in terms of you going inside of you and the whole conversation. But I try to give you some of the things that I felt like was, pointers, for you to understand that Sammy represent the Christ consciousness and everybody else was just a part of Sammy. And we're gonna leave it there, man. Haitian, you already know. Before I let you go, man, always remember, you know what I'm saying? For you to do, you gotta be. You gotta remember that. You feel me? And also, what hurt your feelings, open up your eyes, man. And as always, if you're gonna be true to you, you're never gonna be false to nobody else. And the pain, the remedy of the pain is in the pain. I see. Let me get the fuck out of here.